What is going on, guys? Grave here. I had some questions of kind of giving some flying tips. And I'm probably not the best to give flying tips. I'm not the best pilot in the world, and it took me a lot of practice just to learn to be able to fly. But I'll give you guys some kind of basic advice that I use to learn to fly myself. When I first started flying in Battlefield games, guys, I could barely get a helicopter or a plane off the ground. It was awful. I would wreck all the time. I just did a lot of practicing flying in empty servers and things like that, just kind of learning the basics. The thing I would first recommend is getting your button layout like you like it. I use veteran controls, so that makes R2 and L2 my gas and brake. I really prefer that way. I know it may be a little difficult for people to fly, or some people to fly like that, but that's the way that I like to fly. I also swap between third and first. I would recommend, if you're learning to do it to begin with, is pick one and you stick with it. First is a little difficult in this game because of the propeller and the engine will block your view. But I would say just pick one and learn how to do it in that way, and then you kind of pick up the other, because it is good to use both. But third is good because you can get a lot of view around you and see a little bit better than in first. And third, you also got to learn to lead your targets a little bit. You won't always be on target, as if you're in first. You're going to have to be leading your target a little bit to be able to get the shots on, especially other enemy planes. Me and my buddy Sean had a great run in this. If I had uploaded this whole clip, we would have been in this plane for around 20 minutes. We did not get tons of kills, so don't expect to go in just getting tons and tons of kills. You want to be successful at taking down enemy aircraft, and then you want to work your way to the ground. Take out the AA guns, and then start working on infantry and vehicles, depending on what packages you are running on your planes. You always want to prioritize what you need to kill first so it doesn't kill you. I always brake really hard on curves. I know a lot of people just get in and fly and never really brake. You'll see me slow down a lot where I almost kill the engine completely. And that way I can either get away from people or catch up with people. They may get ahead of me quicker, but the thing that it does is, if you slow down and brake a lot, is you can catch back up, because they're going to be gas hard, you know what I mean? And if you use that brake properly, you can get the right shots and the right angles on them. So always make sure that you use the brake just as much as you use the gas. Always get it really high before you use bombing runs. If you're using the attack plane, which I'm using now, or the bombing plane, always make sure you get extremely high to go on those bombing runs. It's a lot easier to be successful with those bombing runs the higher you are. If you're not doing bombing, I would suggest flying low. I've always loved flying low. It's kind of hard to learn to do because there's a lot of things that can get in your way, but you can kind of sneak up on people when flying low. Also, if you're attacking the bombers like this, I always try to get up under it. Of course, it's not a great example, but I try to get up under it, especially if I have a gunner, because the gunner can shoot up under the bomber. Of course, he has 3 gunners, so he's dangerous if he has a good gunning crew in the bombing plane. So try to get up under him to let your gunner do the work on the bomber. Practice, guys. Get in an empty server and practice. Get in an empty server, learn the basics, and then start doing some crazy stuff. Fly upside down, fly under rocks, fly around the rocks, fly around buildings. Just learn the basics and then try to pick up some of the skills and practice it before you go in the game. And that way, those things will kind of just come to you naturally after you practice them a while. Learn the planes, the fighter, the bomber, and the attack plane. I'm in the attack plane. It is a kind of hybrid between the bomber and the fighter. The fighter is the more agile, faster plane. It's really made for dogfights, but it does have some packages that are really good for other things. And of course, the bomber is the slowest plane. It does have the most damage it can take. It can take the most damage of any other plane. So learn these planes, learn the packages, and realize what you need to do before you get in the game. If there's a lot of planes up, you might want to swap up your package. If there's a lot of tanks out, you want to help the infantry on the ground. That's what a plane's for. It's not just get up there and just fly around. It's get up and to help the team. Also, if you use the attack plane, the package that I'm using has a flare on it. I get real low, pop the flare around a flag. That way the enemies will show up on the radar for my infantry players on the ground. Like I said, guys, always prioritize. Go planes first, AA guns, then infantry and heavy things on the ground, whether it be tanks or cars or jeeps or whatever. And another good example of me flying low and slow at times is like that right there. If you get really low and you brake a lot like I do to turn and things, you might get a little bit of damage, but you can kind of kiss the tires off the ground in some of these places on these maps. If you had been going full speed right there, I'd have blown up in a heartbeat. This is another good reason to learn to brake and gas. Like I said, learn to use the brake just as much as the gas. And last but not least is learn to use the terrain around you. I like to fly low, like I said. I learned to use the rocks, the buildings, anything I can use to either get the advantage on an enemy plane or to get an enemy plane off of me. I cannot tell you how many times I've flown low around trees, around buildings, around rocks, around some of the caverns you can go under in this game, and whoever's following you is pretty much just gassed, and they're going to run right into anything that's kind of an obstacle in the way. Anyway, guys, if you like to hit the like, you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.